You're not really yapping about something random.
The way you answer it if someone asked you in the street.
That allows me to be my natural self and actually say what I believe.
If you had 6 different ideas and 5 different formats, that's 30 videos. So an approach that we have been taking, along with a lot of other guys I'm seeing online, is getting more into less scripted storytelling, and we would just call it documented content versus undocumented content. A lot of that's doing really well. Something in the ad space actually that we're seeing doing really well, whenever people pay creators to make ads for products and all that sort of thing. Just hiring yapper, we call them yapper ads. So they just hold up the product and they just yap about the product. Now it's obviously about finding the right person to do that, but I think we can take lessons for that for entrepreneurs and businesses. So a lot of my clients that are here in Northern Ireland, I would meet up with them and just bring the camera, and we would do a lot of what I call this just documented content. So I'll have questions and bullet points basically, so none of it's scripted. For example, one of my online coaching guys that does online coaching, he scaled his business. He's about 40 clients a month now, which is crazy. So
High ticket?
no, not high ticket, quite low ticket. We met up, we had a bunch of questions ready, a lot of personal story questions as well, not just about his business and his ideal client. Trying to find these little sub niches within his niche. So he works with a lot of, what we found out, a lot of former athletes, which is a really interesting niche. So we were able to play on knowing that he was a former athlete himself. So we could then play on that and try and work around that to try and find out who we can get former athletes for him, and sort of just pin at those pain points that they feel themselves. With YouTube, obviously there's a lot of guys that from the start have done vlogs. Vlogs are obviously so popular, but maybe not as much in the entrepreneur space as the content creator space, because they are two different niches.
Well, this is, now I know this is formatted and packaged in a different way and that this is a collaborative video, but for all intents and purposes, we start with the hook here and then we speak for 15 or 20 minutes. So we are by definition yapping, in that we don't have any kind of solid script for these videos, which means even though that we pull clips from this repurposed as opposed to film them directly, it's still that style of content where we don't need to think about it too much. So I'm kind of thinking from the perspective of maybe someone who's looking to get into short form content for the first time, Alex, is that content easier to create both mentally, in terms of you might not over think it too much, as opposed to right, I have to write this heavily, write a heavy script for this before I do it? So even the idea of writing the script might put them off recording the video.
To be honest, in my personal experience, yapping on camera is pretty hard. It does take a while to be able to get a topic or an idea in your head and be able to yap about it for a minute, 30 seconds.
Well, that's the thing. On that note, when you're saying it's undocumented, unscripted, unplanned, surely there's an element that's planned.
Well, as Alex said, Alex is going in with a question to the people that he's working with, right? So as in obviously if you work with Alex in a short form agency, there's a lot of work done there that you would have had to do otherwise, in terms of look, it might be yapping style content, but Alex knows exactly what he wants you to talk about whenever you start talking. Whereas if you go and yap without an idea in mind, or a story you're looking to tell, or an end result that you're looking to get to, if you're just fucking saying things for the purpose of saying things, you're not going to get anywhere. So there's an element of structure, but it's just knowing, right, I don't want to read something off my iPhone and just say things. I want to have an idea and I want to just go off it. And that way, maybe I'll deliver my expertise in a better way, as opposed to if I wasn't doing that, because that allows me to be my natural self and actually say what I believe, as opposed to maybe what I've written down that I'm going to say.
So to the person watching this, what would you recommend, Alex, in terms of, I want to record 20 yap reels tomorrow, what do I start with?
I would take into account 3 or 4 different things. So I would say, look at your ICP, look at what their pain points are, look at what their goals are, create content from that. Now obviously you can use AI.
So that's who are we talking to and how are we talking to them?
Yeah, look at their pain points, look at their goals. You can use AI with that to try and come up with more. And I think I talked about earlier, finding sub niches within your niche to talk about. There's a girl called Eva Jurgens. We've talked about her before, and she's really good at speaking about that. So within the gym niche, there's obviously so many different niches. You can go into diet, you can go into training, you can go into mindset, all that sort of thing.
We're talking about content buckets, right? Yeah,
content buckets. On that, there's a guy called Callaway who created an Instagram channel there because he challenged himself to just grow it from 0K. I think he's at nearly 50K or something within a few weeks. which is crazy. He talks specifically about content marketing for businesses, and it is different to creators. Duff's talked about it there, creating like content buckets. I would call them content pillars, similar thing, but like for each of my clients, you have 3 to 5 different content pillars per month.
When you're sitting down to make a Yap video,
Yeah.
you know that, right, what, like, you have your messaging in mind before you go to deliver that. So as in, like, you know what kind of like 3, 4, 5 kind of things that you talk about, you reference, and you take inspiration from and speak, so that like you're not really yapping about something random, you're yapping about something that you kind of talk about on a semi-regular basis that your audience is used to hearing but also finds valuable.
The way I would look at it would be, if you're prompting someone with a question, Alex, or if I'm prompting myself with a question, the way you answer it in a Yap video would be the way you answer it if someone asked you in the street or on a sales call. It's just whatever comes to your mind that you've picked up over your years of experience and doing things hundreds of times. It's just the most raw way of delivering that content versus scripting it.
It always comes back to like that word trust. People just know online whenever you're reading hyperscripted stuff. So like
But you know, I think nowadays you could almost hyperscript a Yap video.
Yeah, probably could. If you read it line by line really authentically.
You would have to put a lot of effort, like, because you're not yapping then, you're just like reading it line for line and trying to do it in a way that sounds like you're coming up with it on the spot.
I would bet good money there's people doing it and making a lot of money doing it.
Yeah.
Man, little do you know I've scripted everything I was going to say in this video.
It's so authentic and people know it, so it does build a lot of trust.
How do you find, Alex, see when you're sitting recording with people in person and you've got the camera on them asking the questions, do you feel that comes across well? Because it's almost like they're speaking to you as opposed to speaking to the camera?
Yeah, and a lot of the time I would get them to look at me rather than the camera, to be honest. Literally have a conversation with me. One of the guys, like, something just randomly came out and it was like one of the best pieces of value for like fitness ever. He was like, sometimes people just like really just are bad at counting calories. So I came up with this method that was like, we get like a Chinese container and your dinner has to fit within, you know, this really like plastic Chinese container.
Yep. Your
dinner has to fit within that. And then that's portion control. I was like, mate, that reel's gonna go viral. I just know it. Because it's like super authentic and he's literally just put one of his raw, authentic ideas forward.
See, if we're talking about short form content and that Yap style, like, first of all, if you do it in the right way, it's easy to record, right? Now, obviously, I say it's easy to record. It's simple and straightforward to record in that you just fucking say things for 60 seconds. But like, there might be a lot of mental blocks before you get to the stage where you're holding your phone. How much of that content would someone need to record or want to record as part of a wider short form strategy? Like, could you get away with making all of your short form content that, or do you need to sprinkle in other elements as well?
Let's say you're trying to aim for like 5 videos a week. Let's say that's like 20 videos a month. If like half of that was question videos, which were the documented style content I was talking about, where like you either have a videographer following you about like day to day, and then they just ask you questions along the way. And I think there's a really good structure I use for people whenever we do that. So we have like a hook, so I like create the hook for them, because a lot of people, it's really funny whenever you try and make documented content, they always start the same exact way. It's really interesting. So I'll ask them a question, I'll ask somebody a question, they go, yeah, well, that's really interesting. And it's like every the same line at the start. So like having a hook written out beforehand is a really good way to not only like get really in point on the topic, but also just like keep you on track, and having bullet points obviously for what you're going to say, and not going in fully blind.
Now, as well as that, not everyone can do this, right? Because not everyone has a videographer, but a lot of the content that you create, you capture people in their natural environment as well, which I think is important. As in, like, when I'm watching content created by your agency, I see people in their business, operating in their business. And as you said, you might be with them for 6 hours looking to get a whole month's worth of short form content out, but you're just looking to capture them at certain moments throughout the day and asking them questions. Like, I know you work with a couple of personal trainers and gyms and stuff, and like that content comes across really well because you're just kind of shadowing that guy around his gym for that day, asking him enough questions. And it's like, that guy could have said the same things just holding his iPhone, but the fact that you've captured him in his environment, like, that sells itself because people see him in a gym environment as opposed to just a guy who says things in a camera.
I think a good way to do that, if you obviously don't have a videographer or haven't hired an agency, is, I think we briefly mentioned it earlier, but AI. See if you just went into Claude or ChatGPT and said, a bit about you, a bit about your business, a bit about your ICP, their pain points or whatever, and say, give me 20 questions I can answer in a Yap style video, I guarantee you at least 16 of those are probably going to be usable.
With all my clients, they all have like a content portal. I'm not trying to pitch here, by the way. And like fleeting ideas is like literally one of the best things ever. Like people just have these ideas that like pop in for a second and then go away. So like in every content portal I have with clients, like there's a little ideas vault. So like every time one of the guys has like an idea, like those 2 or 3 personal trainers I work with, like they go write it down, and then that's a video, and it's always a good video because it's like a really specific idea to them, because it's like one of their just subconscious thoughts they've had throughout the day, and then it's really
the thing with that as well is it could come from conversations like this, right? Like I have in my head a few pieces of content that we could make as a result of this, just because we're in the business, we're doing it every day. So when you're actually doing what you speak about, you're going to naturally have little things come into your brain. Oh, that'll make a good short.
Well, do you know where I don't create a lot of good ideas, content ideas, is sitting down in an office with a laptop or a piece of paper and trying to come up with them that way. It's like you will come up with your best content ideas, or at least flesh them out in the full ideas on a walk around town. Walking around listening to a podcast, headphones on, just thinking about your kind of things. Maybe just going about your day-to-day life. You might be fucking tidying your house and just thinking about business. Like going about your life and almost subconsciously thinking about it without like sitting down in like a not quite a creative environment and trying to come up with content ideas. Like, as you said, if you just have an iPhone notes with different content ideas that spawn as you're just going about your day-to-day life, you might be washing the fucking dishes and a content idea comes up and it's like, right, I will talk about that at some point, and it's like,
man, shower thoughts are a real thing.
Shower thoughts, man. As in, like,
if you're looking to make, if
you're looking to make 20 or 30 pieces of short form content every month, as in, like, that is one idea a day. You can just, that could spawn out of anything that you're doing that day.
Yeah. Something really interesting as well on that.
You just did that thing where you said, yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
NPC over
there. People sometimes are quite scared to repeat content ideas. They'll not remake a similar video because they've already made it before. And it's like, yeah, you might have made this video 6 months ago, but nobody is seeing that video on Instagram again.
And also, nobody remembers because nobody gives a fuck about you at all. Like, you might remember that content because it's yours. Even you might not. I don't know. Like, what did I make 3 months ago and put on the internet? I have no idea.
No idea.
But see, even if they do remember, the best example I have for this is, see when you're watching TV, you see the same adverts hundreds of times.
Yeah.
You still buy from them companies.
I'm almost certain there's some kind of statistic, right? That means it's something like you have to see an ad like 7 times before you make the purchase.
Yeah.
So we could technically say the same thing on social media 7 times before someone be's like, right, I actually fuck with that idea. I'm going to go and buy the thing.
Even if it's not 7 times, if you're saying, oh, I only want to say everything once, you're going to run out of things to say very, very quickly. And that, if you're only saying something once, do you really believe it? Or your audience going to actually think you believe it if you say it once because you posted it 6 months ago and you're never going to mention it again?
Also packaging your content in a different, like you could have, let's say you wanted to go for 30 videos a month. If you had 6 different ideas and 5 different formats, that's 30 videos. You know what I mean?
See, by definition, see if you're coming up with original content all the time, you're just kind of making fresh stuff up all the time. Whereas, like, let's say when I sit down to record content, typically I'm talking about either YouTube strategy, YouTube ideas, YouTube scripts, how to record YouTube videos, how to hire and manage video editors, how to do the back end, the post-production, how to sign clients from content. If I start randomly speaking about things that don't fit that kind of messaging, that's not what I do. So as in, like, naturally throughout the next year, 3 years, 5 years in my content, I am going to be speaking about those things in different ways with different people, but the messaging's not going to switch up all that much because that is the value that I provide to agency owners.
Unless you have anything else, there's just one thing left I want to say.
Let's do that.
And that is that Yap content can be applied to YouTube as well. And obviously this has been a collaborative video between 3 of us, but you could do this by yourself. And I want to prove that Yap content is possible on YouTube. So Alex, before we recorded this, you sent over a list of bullet points of how you saw this video going. And I won't lie, read them up earlier and I've not had them up since. But I've just got them up here and I'll read out what you said. So you wanted to do a chat about storytelling in Yappers videos, less scripted documented content, getting a videographer to ask you questions in general documenting content, or just getting the questions to Yap off. Good possibility to get a pain points to give a soft CTA. People know when content is hyper-scripted, and I still think bullet points with questions is okay. And storytelling content is good too, as it is super authentic and just builds tons of trust with your audience.
We are
We have
so
talked
good at
about
this, aren't we?
every single thing on that list.
We're good, man. We're good. Look.
What can I say, lads? What can I say?